Hey, back with another video. Today I am going to be discussing a few minor signings in baseball. Not major, but, just give you my thoughts. But before we do that, go hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, and give me your thoughts on, the signings and what's going on and everything. So, trying to get to 50 subscribers by the end of the week, or really whenever it happens, is good for me, and just do it soon so then I can say something else. And 20 likes on the video. Come on. And I even heard that if you don't like the video, that a dislike even does the same thing as a like for YouTube wise, for their algorithms. So what the hell? If you don't like this video, hit the thumbs down button. Who cares? I don't know. If that's true, that's the other thing. If it's true, let me know. But so let's get to the signings. So the Orioles have signed Jose Iglesias to a 1-year, $3 million deal with a $3.5 million option for 2021. Now, so Jose Iglesias was a pretty big prospect coming up. He started out with the Red Sox. That's where he came up. But I forget. He was traded to, well, either way, he was thought to be their replacement to Hanley Ramirez at shortstop. And they ended up trading him to the Tigers. And he never really latched on. Like, he never reached the prospect status. And his prospect status was he was more of a defensive shortstop. So I guess for that, he did reach his prospect status. He just wasn't gonna wow you with anything. So then he signed on with the Reds last year, a 1-year deal. And I mean, if you're looking for a defensive shortstop, that's fine. Like, he's gonna do what he does. He's gonna be a plus in the field, but he's not gonna do anything for you with the bat. And you know what? For a team like the Orioles, that's just fine. You don't really need much of anything right now. You're not going to go out and spend a ton of money to sign a star shortstop. So, Jose Iglesias is kind of perfect for them. He, maybe they could flip him at the end or not at the end of the season, but at the deadline if he, there's always a chance that in the first couple of months he could hit like crazy. And so, we'll see. It's a fine signing. It's not, like I said, it's not really anything. They didn't really have a shortstop going in. They non-tendered Jonathan Villar. Well, they didn't really non-tender him, but they traded him right before the non-tender deadline, which basically means that you were going to non-tender him, which was ridiculous because they could have signed him or they could have come to an agreement and then traded him at the deadline for a lot more than Jose Iglesias could get you. So I don't know. It's just a weird. But like I said, they're not in contention, so who cares? And then the Nationals made a pair of signings. They signed Daniel Hudson to a 2-year, $11 million contract with another $1 million in incentives. And then they signed Eric Thames to a 1-year, $4 million contract with the mutual option for 2021. Now, Daniel Hudson's never really, he's another one who's never really reached his prospect status, but he's had some very solid years, and out of the bullpen last year, the results were there. Now, the peripherals may not have been there. He walks a few too many for a consistent person, someone you can rely upon. But, I think out of the bullpen, maybe he can get something. And for $5.5 million a year, he's not gonna, for what top relievers are going for these days, it's a pretty good signing. I mean, I don't know if I would have made it if I were a GM, but you could always use that depth in the bullpen. And I mean, the other thing to take into consideration is the 26-man rosters this season. So maybe they're trying to go with that extra bullpen slot. I don't know. Next up is Eric Thames, who, so he's a guy who came up in the majors, played with the Orioles and Blue Jays, then went over to Korea after not doing much. He went over to Korea and had some monster years. And then in 2017, he came back and signed with the Brewers. And in 2017, he hit 247, 359, 518 with 31 home runs. So he had a pretty good year coming back. Maybe not what you want from the average side, because he did hit below 250, but he got on base at a very respectable rate. He hit 31 home runs, so he hit for power. But he hasn't really been able to, in 2018, he kind of fell off a little. And then last year, he kind of regained it, but he only hit 25 home runs. So, similar triple slash lines. And really, it's, he's going to hit for power. He's going to hit for some power. And so he slots in at first base. Oh, that's the other thing. I must have missed that. The Nationals also re-signed Asdrubal Cabrera for I don't know. But so that's interesting because now Carter Kieboom's not he doesn't have a starting job. So the way it is right now is so Thames is going to start at first. Starlin Castro's going to start at second. Trey Turner's starting at shortstop. And then Asdrubal Cabrera will start at third base. Now, and they also re-signed Howie Kendrick. So Howie Kendrick's on their bench as an infielder, as an extra infielder. Now, maybe Carter Kieboom takes up that infield slot. I mean, Wilmer Defoe is slated to be on their bench next year, so maybe he takes that spot. So I don't know. We'll see. But, it definitely solidifies their first base slot by signing Thames. And, and Daniel Hudson, that's weird. I don't know. Roster Resource has Daniel Hudson slotted as the second closer. I can't see that. He's more of a middle reliever the way he's been pitching. But like I said, either way, it's you can't have too many relievers because you never know from year to year how they're going to perform. Especially the non-elite ones. So let's move on. The Dodgers signed Jimmy Nelson to a 1-year, $750,000 contract that could go up to $4.25 million with various incentives. And they're not super hard. The incentives include stuff like making the opening day roster, spending 45 and 90 days on the roster, so 2 months or 3 months. So, I mean, as long as he's effective, he'll get a big chunk of that. So, I mean, he's another one. He came onto the scene in 2013, and, he kind of took everyone by storm. He only made, Yeah, he started in. He only made 4 appearances, 3 relief appearances, 1 start, and people thought he was gonna be like a solid part of the Brewers' rotation, but then he got injured, and he's never really been the same. He's been he's been stable, and in 2017 it sort of seemed like maybe he was over his injuries and like he was finally performing well. But then he was injured again in 2018, and he just wasn't very good last year. So it's a nice flyer for the Dodgers. Like I said, you can never have too much pitching, especially starting pitching, because I mean, if you look at the Dodgers' rotation right now, uh, so right now they have Kershaw, Walker Buehler, Kenta Maeda, Julio Urias, and Ross Stripling. So, I mean, aside from Kershaw and Buehler, you know, and even Kershaw's not what he performs like he has over the years, but he's getting up there in age. He'll be 32, and he's been a little banged up. So, we'll see. But right now, Jimmy Nelson slots as their long reliever, and I could easily see him making starts because these guys always get injured. Ross Stripling was a guy like that, was in their bullpen last year. So, I mean, they lost Hyun-Jin Ryu. So, but other than that, I mean, I guess the guy that's not listed on here is Dustin May, who I could see in their starting rotation at some point this year. But other than that, and I mean, the other thing to consider is that, what's yeah, so, actually, their estimated 2020 payroll is way under. So yeah, they can make more signings, more pitchers. Not sure who's out there. I mean, a lot of the big guys have been signed up already. I mean, Bumgarner signed, uh, Keuchel signed, Ryu signed, Cole signed. So I don't know. I mean, I thought maybe they were, but either way, it's a nice pickup, no risk really, and I don't know. Maybe he'd even take an assignment in AAA because the Dodgers don't have the most solid rotation right now. Who knows? But moving on, the Chicago White Sox signed Steve Cishek to a 1-year, $6 million deal with a $6.75 million option for 2021. Now, I mean, Steve Cishek's a nice pitcher. He's getting a little up there in age. He hasn't really pitched as well as his numbers would indicate recently. He was really good with the Marlins at the beginning of his career. But again, it's another very solid signing by the Chicago White Sox. And he just makes their bullpen deeper. And, like I've been saying throughout, this whole, since I've been making the videos earlier this year, I could see the White Sox contending for the AL Central this year. They picked up Dallas Keuchel, they picked up Joe Gonzalez. They picked up Yasmani Grandal, they picked up Edwin Encarnacion, they traded for Nomar Mazara. So they've been making a lot of moves. They picked up James McCann to be their backup catcher. So they see an opportunity. They're getting Luis Robert. They just signed him to a massive extension. That's another one I missed. Yeah, it was like an $88 million extension. Or I think that was total, what it could be with options. So that's another one. Like, they're really putting together a solid team. The other thing is, I think you'll see Nick Madrigal at some point this season. So, he's another one. I guess the odd man out will be whoever is not performing of Lurie Garcia and Tim Anderson, because, I could see the one. I think Garcia can play short, so. But either way, they put together a very nice team to take advantage of a relatively weak AL Central. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens. But, yeah. So, that's it. And you guys know what to do. Hit that like button below. Subscribe to the channel. And, yeah. Comment below. Give me your thoughts. What do you think about the deals or just the teams in general? And, yeah. Go check out the unusefulidiots.com for ways to listen to the podcast, or, how to support the channel. And that's it. So, yeah, see you next time.